I want to ask you something honest. At the end of last month, where did your money go? Not the rent. Not the car payment. Not the big stuff you already know about. The other money. The money that was supposed to be there. The money you were going to save. The money that just kind of disappeared. If you sat down right now and tried to account for every dollar you spent last month, could you do it? Most people cannot. And most people feel genuinely ashamed about that. Like it means something is wrong with them. Like other people have this figured out and they are the only ones who don't. I need you to hear this before we go any further. You are not bad with money. You are not irresponsible. You are not lazy. You were never taught how to do this. Nobody sat you down and explained what to actually do with money once it hits your account. Not in school. Not usually at home. And definitely not anywhere in the normal flow of adult life. Most Americans are just guessing. And guessing with money has a cost. But here is the thing. Budgeting is not complicated. It is not a spreadsheet with 50 categories. It is not about cutting everything fun from your life. It is not about being perfect every single month. It is about knowing where your money is going before it disappears. That is it. That simple shift, from not knowing to knowing, changes everything. And by the end of this video you are going to have a complete plan. Not a vague idea. Not some inspiration you will forget tomorrow. An actual plan you can start using this week. Even if you have tried budgeting before and failed. Even if your income is low. Even if you have no idea where to begin. Let us start from the very beginning. Here is the real reason budgeting fails for most people. And it is not what you think. Most people fail at budgeting because they start with the wrong goal. They sit down and think, okay, I need to cut back. I need to spend less. I need to stop wasting money. And then they make a list of everything they are going to stop doing. No more eating out. No more Starbucks. No more fun until I get my finances together. And it works for about 2 weeks. Then life happens. A bad day at work. A social event they actually want to attend. A moment of genuine stress where spending something feels like the only relief available. And they do it. They break the budget. And the moment they break it, they do not just feel like they spent money they should not have. They feel like a failure. And feeling like a failure at budgeting makes most people stop budgeting entirely. Psychologists call this all or nothing thinking. And it destroys more budgets than any amount of overspending ever has. Here is the truth about budgeting that almost no one tells you. A budget is not a prison. It is not a punishment. It is not a test you pass or fail. A budget is just information. It is simply a system for knowing where your money goes instead of wondering where it went. The goal is not perfection. The goal is awareness. Because awareness is where everything starts. Once you know where your money is actually going, you can make real decisions instead of just hoping things work out. And when you make real decisions with real information, your financial life starts to change. Before you open a spreadsheet. Before you download an app. Before you do anything else, I want you to answer one question. What do you actually want your money to do for you? Not what you think you should want. Not what someone else told you to want. What do you actually want? Do you want to stop feeling that stomach drop every time an unexpected bill shows up? Do you want to know that if your car breaks down tomorrow you can handle it without going into debt? Do you want to save enough to move out of a situation you are stuck in? Do you want to stop fighting about money in your relationship? Do you want to actually feel okay when you check your bank account? Whatever your answer is, that is your real reason for budgeting. Not because Dave Ramsey said so. Not because some video told you to. Because there is something specific in your life that you want money to stop preventing you from having. Write that down. Seriously. Pause this video and write it down. Because when budgeting gets hard, and it will get hard some months, that reason is what keeps you going. Numbers do not motivate people. Feelings do. Reasons do. Know your reason. Then we build your budget around it. Okay. Practical steps. Let us go. The first step is knowing your actual take-home income. Not your salary. Not what your job pays before taxes. What actually hits your bank account every month? This sounds obvious. But you would be surprised how many people do not actually know their exact monthly take-home pay. They know roughly. They have a general sense. But not the actual number. Get the actual number. If you get paid every 2 weeks, here is the exact math. Multiply your paycheck amount by 26, because there are 26 pay periods in a year, and then divide that number by 12 to get your true monthly income. If your income varies because you are freelance or hourly or have tips or commission, take your last 3 to 6 months of income and find the average. The more months you include, the more accurate your baseline will be. Use that average as your baseline. Plan for that number, not for your best month. This matters because the most common budgeting mistake is planning based on income you might earn instead of income you actually have. If you budget for your good months and then have an average month, your budget fails immediately, and it feels like your fault when it is really just unrealistic planning. Budget for what you actually have, not for what you hope to have. This is the step most people skip because it is uncomfortable. Do not skip it. Go through your bank statements and credit card statements from last month. Every single transaction. And categorize them. Housing. Transportation. Food. Utilities. Subscriptions. Personal care. Entertainment. Anything else. Do not judge yourself while you do this. Seriously. This is not the moment for guilt or shame. This is just data collection. You are a scientist right now, not a judge. Look at every category and add up what you spent. Most people are genuinely shocked by what they find, not because they are doing anything crazy, but because small consistent spending is invisible until you actually add it up. The $12 subscription you forgot about. The 3 times you grabbed food on the way home because you were tired. The random Amazon purchases that each felt small but added up to something significant. None of these things are bad. All of them are choices. But they can only be real choices if you can see them clearly. Once you know what you spent last month across every category, you have the foundation for a real budget. Not a guess budget. A real one. There are 100 different budgeting methods. Zero-based budgeting. Cash envelopes. Apps. Spreadsheets. Here is the one I want you to start with because it is the simplest and it works for almost every income level. It is called the 3-bucket system. Bucket 1 is needs. Everything you genuinely cannot live without. Rent or mortgage. Utilities. Groceries. Transportation to work. Basic insurance. Phone if it is necessary for work. Minimum debt payments. Bucket 2 is wants. Everything that improves your life but is not strictly necessary. Eating out. Streaming services. Hobbies. Clothes beyond basic needs. Entertainment. Bucket 3 is future you. Savings. Emergency fund. Debt payments above the minimum. Anything you are building toward. Now here is where most budgeting advice gets this wrong. A popular budgeting rule suggests the buckets should be 50% needs, 30% wants, and 20% future you. And if your income is average or above, that math works reasonably well. But if your income is low, that math is impossible. You cannot keep needs at 50% when rent alone is 50% of your income. You cannot force your life into percentages designed for people earning twice what you earn. So here is the adjusted version for lower incomes. Start with needs. Add up everything in bucket 1. Whatever that number is, that is fixed. You cannot wish it smaller. You cannot budget it away. Whatever is left after needs is what you actually have to work with. Put something into bucket 3 first before anything else. Even $25. Even $10. The amount matters less than the habit of doing it first, every single time, without exception. Then everything else can go to wants. This approach works because it does not lie to you about what is possible on your income. It works with reality instead of fighting it. I want to talk directly to anyone watching this who is thinking, this sounds great, but my income is so low that after needs there is literally nothing left. I hear you. And I am not going to pretend that is not real. For a lot of Americans right now, the math is genuinely brutal. Rent has gone up faster than wages. Groceries cost more. Everything costs more. And income has not kept up. If you run your numbers and you genuinely have nothing left after needs, that is not a budgeting problem. That is an income problem. And no amount of budgeting discipline can solve a math problem. But before you conclude that your situation is hopeless, do two things. First, look very carefully at your needs bucket. Sometimes things live there that are actually wants. A streaming service. A phone plan that is more expensive than necessary. A car payment on a car you could potentially trade for something less expensive. These feel like needs, but they have flexibility. Second, think seriously about income. Even a small additional income stream changes the math completely. One freelance skill you can offer on Fiverr or Upwork. Something you can sell on Facebook Marketplace. One extra shift per week. Even $200 extra per month changes the math completely. A budget cannot create money that does not exist. But it can show you exactly where the gaps are so you can make deliberate decisions instead of just feeling vaguely stressed all the time. Knowing the problem clearly is always better than feeling the problem without understanding it. Here is one of the most common reasons budgets fail in month 2 or 3 even when month 1 went perfectly. People budget for regular monthly expenses but forget about irregular ones. Car registration. Holiday gifts. Medical bills. Home repairs. Annual subscriptions. None of these are actually surprises. They happen every year. The only surprise is that most people never plan for them. And when they show up and there is no money set aside for them, the budget blows up. And it feels random and unfair even though none of it was actually random. The solution is a sinking fund. Go through the last 12 months and identify every irregular expense you had. Add them all up. Divide by 12. That monthly number goes into your budget every single month as a fixed expense, even in months when you do not spend it. So if you know you spend roughly $600 a year on irregular expenses that are not monthly, you add $50 a month to your budget for that category. When the car registration comes due, the money is already there. This one change makes budgets dramatically more stable because it eliminates the surprise factor. Nothing is really a surprise when you plan for the category in advance, even if you do not know the exact timing. Motivation is the wrong tool for budgeting. I know that is not what you want to hear. But it is true. Motivation is high when you start. It fades within weeks for almost everyone. And a system that depends on motivation is a system that fails when life gets hard, which it always does eventually. What actually keeps people on a budget long term is not motivation. It is automation and simplicity. Automate everything you possibly can. Set up automatic transfers to savings on payday. Set up autopay for bills. Remove the decision from the equation wherever possible, because every decision you have to make manually is a potential failure point. Keep your budget simple. The more categories you have, the more cognitive load it requires. The more cognitive load, the more likely you are to stop tracking when life gets busy. A budget with 5 categories that you actually use beats a perfect spreadsheet with 40 categories that you abandon in week 3. Review your budget once a week. Not once a month. Once a week. A 10-minute Sunday evening review. Just 10 minutes. Look at what you spent this week, check if you are on track, and adjust for the week ahead. That simple habit changes your relationship with money more than any app or spreadsheet ever will. And give yourself a small personal spending category with no rules. Money that is yours to spend on anything you want without guilt or justification. When budgeting has zero room for enjoyment, it feels like punishment. When it has even a small guilt-free zone, it feels sustainable. Here is what most budgeting videos never tell you because they end at the budget itself. A budget is not the destination. It is the starting line. Once you have a budget and you are actually following it, something shifts. You stop feeling that vague financial anxiety that lives in the background of your life. You stop avoiding your bank account. You stop having that low-level dread about money that most Americans carry around every single day. That shift in itself is worth more than any specific dollar amount you save. But the budget also opens doors. When you know exactly what you spend, you can find the extra money to start building an emergency fund. And an emergency fund changes everything because it means one bad month does not destroy everything you have built. When you have an emergency fund, you can start attacking debt. And when you attack debt, you free up income that was going to interest payments. And that freed up income can go to investments. It is a chain reaction. But it starts with the budget. Everything we talk about on this channel, the paycheck trap, the lifestyle inflation trap, the poverty premium, the credit score, all of it is easier to address once you have a budget because a budget gives you information and options. And information and options are how financial lives change. You came into this video not knowing where your money goes. You are leaving with a complete system. Know your actual take-home income. Track every dollar you spent last month. Sort everything into 3 buckets. Automate what you can. Review once a week. Build in a guilt-free spending category. Plan for irregular expenses with a sinking fund. That is the whole system. It is not complicated. It just requires starting. And here is the thing about starting. The best budget is not the most perfect one. It is the one you actually use. Even a rough budget that you look at every week will change your financial life more than a perfect budget that sits in a folder somewhere. Start rough. Start simple. Start this week. Because the version of you that knows where every dollar goes is going to make better decisions than the version of you that is just guessing. And better decisions, made consistently over time, are how financial lives actually change. And one last thing. Drop a comment below and tell me what your biggest money challenge is right now. I read every single one, and your comment might become the next dollar focus video. If you want to understand what to do after your budget is working, specifically how to pay off debt as fast as possible so you free up even more money to build with, that video is right here. That is the natural next step and everything we covered today leads directly into it.